So we are going to start with the topic of Kashtarthav today. Kashtarthav is a topic that is dysmenorrhea or Kashtarthav. Every day actually in OPD, we see patients, we see young girls, females, women, everyone actually who has dysmenorrhea who come to us. Every pathy doctor actually has this patients actually. This is really important for us to know because this is not a condition which is limited only to India. If we see the former first lady, that is Michelle Obama, she actually had tweeted that why are girls still missing so many days of school because of their menstrual cycle? So here we come to know that even in allopathy, there is not such proper cure of this disease. So definitely we can give that is a very good scope that we can give Ayurvedic treatment. So let's see first this topic. What is there in this topic? We'll first see allopathic aspect. Allopathic aspect we are going to see because at some things we can correlate in Ayurveda and allopathy for that. Second, we should understand because patient will come with investigations. Patient will come who has taken drugs of allopathy and they are not satisfied and therefore they will come to us. So we should definitely know allopathic aspect also and then we are going to go detail in Ayurveda aspect with all the kalpa and all. So the meaning of the word dis is actually difficult. So the definition is actually painful menstruation of sufficient magnitude so as to incapacitate day-to-day activities. So that is what is known as dysmenorrhea. So here you will come to know one thing that a menstruation should be so painful that her daily activities she is not able to do. For example, a girl who would have gone to school otherwise, but because of her menses, she is not able to go to school. So that is there. So here we all know that pain is actually a subjective symptom. So one girl would say that I can bear the pain, I don't have any problems. Another one won't be able to bear the pain. So here we should take the patient's word at go and it will depend upon the upbringing of the patient also. For example, a girl who has been brought up on a farm, who has to do rough activities almost every day. So she won't be having that much pain, whether it is labor pains, dysmenorrhea pain, any. But a girl who is a city girl where everything is there at a push of the button, so definitely that girl would be having more pain. So little bit going into their emotional and upbringing status also is very important. There are two types of dysmenorrhea. First is actually the primary dysmenorrhea and second is the secondary dysmenorrhea. Primary dysmenorrhea has all these synonyms. That is, it can be true dysmenorrhea, it can be spasmodic dysmenorrhea, idiopathic and essential. Idiopathic, the meaning of the word idiopathic is actually the one which has no cause. So the dysmenorrhea in which no cause is there, that is the patient or the lady is saying I am having painful menses, but as such cause is not there. As such cause means there is no inflammation. Inflammation means there is nothing like PID, that is there is no infection, no inflammation, no pelvic inflammatory disease, no growth, that is no fibroid, no endometrial polyp, no anatomical factors also. And then also she is having pain. So that is known as primary dysmenorrhea. It is also spasmodic in nature, therefore it is known as spasmodic dysmenorrhea. As there is no cause, therefore it is also known as true dysmenorrhea. And the second type of dysmenorrhea is when either there would be any cause. For example, there would be fibroid or there would be endometrial polyp or copper T would be inserted, as a result of which dysmenorrhea is there. So we should actually understand how we can distinguish between these two types of dysmenorrhea. So first, going into primary dysmenorrhea, there are some points, there are some symptoms, and there is examination. So these three things can help you to differentiate between these two things. That is, whether the patient is of primary dysmenorrhea, there is no cause, or whether there is a cause. So primary dysmenorrhea, as such, pain during menses, almost every girl has, right? Very few girls are very lucky who don't have pain at all. So some magnitude of pain everyone has, but it doesn't interfere with the day-to-day activities. Like that, 15 to 20% is the incidence in which It interferes with the day-to-day activities. Primary dysmenorrhea is mostly confined to the ovulatory cycle. That is, when ovulation occurs, then the pain is there. So this is because of the hormone progesterone and also prostaglandin. We are going to go little bit in detail in that. So we know that it is confined to ovulatory cycles. We also know that the first 2 years when the menses occur after menarche actually, the cycles are unovulatory. That is, ovulation doesn't occur during that cycles. Therefore, if we see a patient actually, she will complain that since menarche, since my menses came, at that time pain was there, but it has become severe after 1 year. So that is the classic history a teenager girl of 13 years or 14 years would give you. At that time, you'll come to know this is primary dysmenorrhea. Another feature of primary dysmenorrhea is that it is cured after pregnancy and vaginal delivery. It is mostly associated with affluent society, and there can be family history, cannot be, that is also okay. And a girl who is the only child, mostly maybe she is pampered a lot, as a result she may suffer. It is not conclusive, not always present. So what are the causes of pain? You would think that there is no cause. So why pain should be there? So the cause of pain are actually dysrhythmic uterine contraction and uterine hypoxia, which is due to nervous factor and hormonal factor. So what happens when dysmenorrhea is there, that is spasmodic dysmenorrhea, in that the autonomous nervous system, which supplies the uterus actually, so there hyperactivity or imbalance actually occurs, as a result of which the cervical internal os and the isthmus, that is the lower part of the uterus above the cervix, their hypertonicity occurs, as a result of which the menses are not able to pass properly from the internal os, or there is difficulty, or they are expelled with pain because of hypertonicity. Also, there is autonomic upset, that is bowel and bladder tenesmus, because autonomic nervous systems control bowel and bladder also. Therefore, bowel and bladder tenesmus means frequency, you feel the urge to either go to motions or to urine. So that is seen to some or other extent in every girl. She experiences this when menses is there. All these things actually, why we are discussing, because if we see the karya of Apan Vayu actually, bowel and bladder, right? Mala Mutra, all this Nishkraman and everything is the karma of Apan Vayu. Also the tonicity, contraction, Akunchan Prasaran. When Akunchan Prasaran is not proper, that is imbalance of the autonomic nervous system. So here Apan Vayu is disturbed. So that's why we are going little bit in detail over here. Also in dysmenorrhea actually, the junctional zone, that is a zone between the endometrium and the myometrium, hyperplasia occurs. Hyperplasia means the cell division or cell proliferation is more. Hypertrophy is increase in size, hyperplasia is cell division, cell proliferation more. So as we know that vibhajan, that is cell division, is also a karma of Vayu. So this is how we are correlating it beautifully actually. And there is less vascularity to the uterus actually. When we say the vascularity of the uterus is less, so the flow of blood supply to the uterus is also a karma of Vayu. How, that we will see in some other shlok later. So ovular cycles, as I said, that pain is more because progesterone also does hypertonicity in the isthmus and the upper cervix. Prostaglandin is also secreted when there is shedding of endometrium at that time. Prostaglandin inhibitor drugs, that is NSAIDs, are the drugs which we give, right? Diclo, many drugs are there, ibuprofen. All these drugs everyone takes actually during menses. So how they work? Because prostaglandin constricts the blood vessels and it produces bleeding pain. Also, it increases the sensitivity of the nerve endings to pain. So this is the mechanism. And progesterone actually helps in the production of prostaglandin. So don't go into mechanism. That is the bottom line. So why there is pain relief after delivery is because there is stretching, mechanical stretching of the muscles of the vagina. Improved vascularity is also there after childbirth and pregnancy of the uterine muscles, and damage of the neurons are also there. As a result of which there is pain relief after delivery. Some cases are refractory, yes, because emotional factors are there. For example, exam is there and the girl knows that my exam is tomorrow and her menses come. So definitely she would be having chinta, which is a factor for vata vriddhi as per Ayurveda. So that all these things actually, and when you are treating women as such for any conditions, not only dysmenorrhea, not only gynec conditions, some kind of emotional factor they have, and lots of things, lots of emotional, 20% at least emotional factor is there, 80% physical factor is there. So lots of these things are there, and chinta, bhaya, shok, this all causes vata vriddhi. So primary dysmenorrhea, what would be the clinical features? So pain would begin some hours before menses, or it may begin just with the onset of menses. It may last for few hours, at times 24 hours also, but really rare. Mostly it lasts for few hours. Nature is spasmodic in nature, like colicky type of pain is there. It will come and it will go. Area would be anywhere below the umbilicus. That would be the area, including the abdomen. Symptoms, we all know, nausea is there, vomiting, diarrhea. These symptoms are because of the autonomic upset, nausea, vomiting, diarrhea, constipation. Headache is there, generalized fatigue is there, indigestion is there. Vasomotor changes, at times the patient will appear really pale, her whole body would be really sweaty, and she would be cold. She won't be sweaty and hot, she would be cold sweats are there actually, and almost she would feel like she has to faint, or at times fainting is also there. So if you examine such a patient, per abdomen, if you see no lump, nothing would be palpable, tenderness and all. I mean, I'm saying when she's having pain at that time, maybe she will not allow you to palpate, but later date when you examine, nothing would be palpable as such. PV examination, if she is married, you can definitely do. So nothing would be there. I mean, uterus would be normal size, no tenderness, nothing. No, but uterus won't be bulky. Then you may advise the patient that do a sonography. Sonography would be USG pelvis. If she is married, then TVS, that is transvaginal sonography. If she is not married, then TAS, that is trans abdominal sonography of the pelvis, right? So these sonography would also tell us that there is no cause. So this is just one research. We are going to go into the treatment, but this is just one research I wanted to show that during menstruation, actually, and even before menstruation, the sleep pattern, nocturnal body temperature, and hormonal levels of patients who had dysmenorrhea were quite different than the ones who didn't have primary dysmenorrhea. So even when menses are not there, at that time also sleep pattern of the females who have dysmenorrhea were different. And in that they have written ki decreased sleep efficiency was there, and the decreased REM sleep and all they have written actually. So here we can come to know that sleep pattern is affected even when menses are not there. A big thing actually. If we correlate in Ayurveda, so Vata, Vruddhi, Shlok, Kasha, Kashni, Ushna, Kamitva, Kampana, Shakruta, Bal, Nidra and Indriya Bhransha. Bal, Nidra, Indriya Bhransha is there, Nidra Bhransha is there. So that also we can correlate. So primary dysmenorrhea treatment, what you are going to give in allopathy, general treatment, diet, good diet, healthy diet, multivitamins. If the patient is thin, tell her to gain weight, vice versa. Lifestyle, proper sleep and everything. And regular physical activity during menses. Don't go to gym and all, but otherwise she can do her activities. That is one thing. Something which is common nowadays, teenagers are doing is dysmenorrhea workout, which is really wrong, because as per Ayurveda, generally also it is not uh, possible to do also that much workout during menses. And why you should do? Why do you want to do Vata Vriddhi? So that is one thing which you can advise. Counseling on the emotional level, that tell her that after you get married, after you get kids and all, so this dysmenorrhea would decrease very drastically. So that is the counseling mostly people need. Otherwise, they will think that this is going to go forever, forever. So medicines, what you can give, mild analgesics and NSAIDs. NSAIDs are the drugs which mostly we give. That is either mefenamic acid, ibuprofen, indomethacin, anything actually. These would actually inhibit the prostaglandin, and we saw prostaglandin has various mechanisms actually, and therefore it will have a direct analgesic effect. Just remember, don't give this in bronchial asthma, gastric ulcer, and GERD. Side effects, obviously the gastrointestinal side effects are there. Many patients, only these painkillers are not efficient, and therefore we have to give OC pills. OC pills I personally won't recommend, obviously, because it has numerous side effects. Weight gain is one, acne is there, breast cyst is there, fibroid is one side effect. Long term, if you take, it is not definitely not recommended. They give for 3 to 6 cycles, but after that, what? What after 6 cycles? You can't give it forever. So this is one thing which they give, especially when the woman wants contraception and the woman is actually dysmenoric and she has heavy menses also. So it will work on all the three things. Then after 6 cycles or 8 cycles, if they feel that uh, only till the patient is taking OC pills, she's okay. And otherwise, she's again having pain if the OC pills is not taken in that cycle. So then they post the patient for laparoscopy. Laparoscopy, if the patient is married, you can do hysterolaparoscopy also. The intent behind doing this is to rule out be missed by ultrasonography. For example, endometriosis, not always, it can be picked up by ultrasonography. Laparoscopy can beautifully actually pick it up, or some fibroid would be there, or some polyp would be there, which would be actually missed by ultrasonography. Like these things can be picked up by laparoscopy. So this is actually the management. Secondary dysmenorrhea is actually the congestive type of dysmenorrhea because it is because of any cause. For example, in this first picture, we have endometrial polyps are there. So because of that, dysmenorrhea would be there. Second is actually when copper T is there. So because of that, dysmenorrhea would be there. Like that, whenever there is cause, then it is secondary dysmenorrhea. What are the causes? Cervical stenosis. Cervical stenosis, the same as we have the hypertonicity cause, like that only cervical stenosis will cause menses not to go, not to come properly. Chronic pelvic infection, pelvic endometriosis will cause pain. Pelvic adhesions can be post-surgery or due to endometriosis. Adenomyosis is when endometrium grows inside the muscle, so that can cause pain. Uterine fibroid, as shown in the picture, it can cause pain. Endometrial polyp is there, IUCD is there. So here the treatment would be as per cause. The patient profile would be very different than the patient profile which we found in primary dysmenorrhea. Here the patient profile would be that a patient would be mostly Paris patients in their 30s. Not necessary that a patient can be in 30s, even small girls get fibroid, but then these things would be picked up on the ultrasonography. But generally, uh, these things actually occur at such ages, and some things you can definitely rule out that mostly this is not primary dysmenorrhea because she will tell you a clear history that I have painful menses from only 2 years. Before 2 years, my menses were really normal. And she would be years away from menarche actually. So she will tell you that there was a painless period or at least a less painful period. So that is one thing. Also, if the patient is having fibroid, so she will have another symptoms also, other symptoms also. For example, fibroid, endometriosis, adenomas, she will have heavy bleeding also. So that you will come to know by that. Also, we are going to do examination USG, so that will go in the workup. But here the patient would be Paris also. That is, she would have 1 to 2 kids also. After having 1 to 2 kids also, she is having dysmenorrhea and that too now. Previously it was not there, now it is there. So it is mostly secondary dysmenorrhea. The pain is dull. In primary dysmenorrhea, it was spasmodic. Here it would be dull. And the onset and symptoms and everything will depend upon the pathology. But one thing is there, in these patients, there would be some discomfort or some of the symptoms would occur even in between the menses. For example, in endometriosis, there is co-menstrual dysmenorrhea. That is, entire month there is dysmenorrhea, not of the same severity, but there is pain like that. So if you see the workup for any patient per abdomen, you may find fibroid, lump, tenderness. PV, if you see stiffness of the uterus would be there, which is present in endometriosis, tenderness also in that. Immobility, stiffness, same actually. Bulky uterus, if there is any fibroid, then it can cause bulky uterus. In PS examination, that is per speculum examination, either IUCD thread you can see, or if there is a polyp, you can see that the polyp has come out from the cervix. USG, here also same, USG pelvis you are going to do. USG can actually pick up endometriosis, adenomyosis, fibroid, PID, At times USG cannot pick up also. If these things are really small, endometriosis at times it cannot pick up. Hysterolaparoscopy, as we discussed, can be done, and hysterolaparoscopy in the same sitting, actually surgery is also done. For example, endometrial polyp is there, then that surgery is done. Treatment would be according to cause. So main, we are not going into secondary dysmenorrhea, we are going into proper dysmenorrhea, that is Kashtartha. So let's start with the Ayurveda aspect, which is the main aspect for today. So in Kashtartha, we have two words actually, that is Kashta and Artha. So Kashta would be painful or difficult. The Nirukti would be Kashtena Muchyati iti Kashtartha. That is the Artha which is shedded with great difficulty and pain. That is the one which is known as Kashtartha. As such, if you see Kashtartha Yonivyapat like this, it is not mentioned anywhere. You have scattered references in the Grantha actually, and that we are going to correlate. But before that, these two important references is that Shuddha Artha, the earthy word I've highlighted. Earthy means pain actually. In the definition of Shuddha Artha, they are said Nishpicha Daha Arthi. Shuddha Artha should not have Pichilta, it should not have Daha, and it should not have Arthi, that is pain. So here it is clearly written that Shuddha Artha is one which is devoid of pain. And formation of Artha Shlok actually, what we were saying regarding the vascularity, that blood supply to the uterus is less in the patients of primary dysmenorrhea. So that we can correlate because this is the shlok of formation of Artha actually. In that actually, Vayu is the main causative factor which helps in all the process. That is Masena Upachit, the Artha which is Upachit in the entire mass, it is brought to the uterus by Dhamni Bhyam. Dhamni Bhyam is dual actually. Dual Vibhakti it is. Chaturtha Vibhakti dual actually. That is two Dhamni are there. And then by Vayu, it is brought up to the Yonimukh. So Vayu is very important for this. So this can be correlated to the ischemia which we have, or we have less vascularity of the uterus, that can be correlated. Some references are there that Saruk is there in Vata Jonivyapa, Saruk symptom. Sashula Artha is there in Sannipata Jonivyapa, Sa Arthi in Paripluta, Mahayuni, Rajakrutshata, Udavarti Yuni. So we are going to go, firstly, what we can correlate in Kashtartha are especially the two Yonivyapas. First is the Vatach Yonivyapat and second is the Udavarta Yonivyapat. These symptoms, mostly the symptoms which are there in these two Yonivyapas, can be correlated. Other Yonivyapat can be considered in which symptom of painful or Kashta menstruations or Kashtata menstruation is there, that can be correlated with causes of secondary dysmenorrhea because they have other features also. For example, in Pitta Joni Vyapad actually, Jwar and etc. things are there. So that can be correlated with infective condition because of which there is dysmenorrhea. So those will be the causes of secondary dysmenorrhea. So if we see the causes of Kashtartha as such causes are not given, so we can take the general causes of Yoni Vyapad. So the general causes of Yoni Vyapad, the first is Mithyachar. In Mithyachar actually, what will come? Mithya Ahar will come, Mithya Vihar and Mithya Achar. So Mithya Ahar would be first, that all the food which will do Vata Vritti. That is, in current generation, everyone is having popcorn, chips, nachos. So all these things, cold drinks and all, this would all come in Vata Vritti along with the drugs, along with the dravyas which are mentioned as Vata Vrittikar. Also the food habits, like teenagers, etc., the girls actually who get this dysmenorrhea, they have the habit of taking little food and they will eat at any time. They will eat late at night. They will actually do Ratro Jagaran. They will do Vekadharan. Ati Vyayam because everyone wants to lose weight now. And Mansik Hetu everyone is having nowadays. Chinta, Shoka, Bhaya. So this is actually what is Mithyachar in modern times actually. Pradushta Artha. The Pradushta Artha actually, if you see why the Artha would be Pradushta, is that from Aharas actually Rasadhatu is formed. And yesterday we discussed that Artha is actually the Upadhatu of Rasadhatu. As a result of which, if nutritional factors are there, this Mithyachar is actually done. It can actually also lead to Pradushta Artha. Or Pradushta Artha can be also be considered as the reproductive hormones, as we saw, progesterone, prostaglandin. These are the ones which are responsible for pain. Bija dosh is there in which there are some congenital abnormalities of the reproductive tract. It can be either stenos internal os, which is mentioned in Ayurveda as Suchi Mukhi or Suchi Vakra Yoni Vyapat, or it can be like this, like bicornuate uterus, unicornuate uterus. So the uterus which is bicornuate, for example, so the contraction of the uterus to expel the menstrual blood would be really difficult, and therefore the pain would be there. So these are also the causes of Kashtartha. Daiva is a cause, as we all know, that idiopathic. Idiopathic, that is, we all know, primary dysmenorrhea, idiopathic causes there. So that can be correlated with Daiva. So as I said, Vata Yonivapat and Udavarta Yonivapat has the symptoms, right? So Vatala Ahara Cheshtaya. Vatala Ahar Cheshtaya means Vatach Ahar, whatever we discuss, Vatach food. Cheshta means all the things come in that. Vegadharan comes, Ati Vyamkan, Ratra Jagaran. Vatalaya Samiranaha. And in Vatash Prakriti Stri especially, the Samir is that is Vayu. It will become Vruddha. Vivruddho Yonim Ashritya. It will become Vruddha and it will come in Yoni and it will do Sanskanshay over there and it will lead to these symptoms, that is Yoni Toda Savedanam. So I've written this properly over here. Yoni Toda actually is pricking pain in the vagina. Stamba, that is stiffness in the vagina. And during menses, everyone has these funny symptoms actually. Pricking pain would be there, at times stiffness would be there. Karkashata or roughness would be there. Supti means numbness. Pipalika means sensation of ants or insect crawling. Ayas means generalized fatigue. Vatascha aparan gadan, that is other Vat disorders. Sa Shabda means menstruation with sound. Ruka means pain, fain of frothy. Tanu means thin. Ruksha means menstruation devoid of mucus. Also, other symptoms are there for ayam, that is feeling of stretching of vagina and uterus, and the varna actually. Arun varna or Krishna varna. So Krishna is black and Arun is Ishata Rakta varna. So if we see patients who have spotting, that is scanty menses with spotting also with dysmenorrhea. So they would have this blackish brown or brownish spotting only because alpa is also mentioned. Oligomenorrhea is also there. Not necessary in every patient of dysmenorrhea she should have scanty menses. Some patients have it. As we saw yesterday, Gunja Phala Savarna is actually the normal color of Shuddha Artha, and here because it is vitiated by Vat, as a result of which the color has changed. So this is the Lakshana Vata Joni Vyapat. Most of the signs and symptoms this occurs in dysmenorrhea actually. So therefore, this we can correlate, and the treatment which is mentioned in Vata Joni Vyapat we can definitely apply in dysmenorrhea. Udavarta Univyapad actually. Udavarta Univyapad is one in which actually Vega Udavarta occurs. That is, for example, during menses or just before menses, many women tend to get constipated. So that is one thing actually. Also, Agnimandya occurs. Practically also, if we see, that is what occurs, right? So Vega Udavartan occurs. That is a not natural Veg that have to be excreted, Malamutra and everything, that instead of being excreted, it's not excreted and it comes in the upward direction. That is, it doesn't go in the downward direction and Vega Udavartan occurs. It comes in the upward direction, as a result of which Yonim Udavartayate Anil. That is the Anil, that is Vayu. Vayu Udavartan occurs. That is the Apan Vayu actually, which is responsible for Nishkraman Kriya of Garbha Nishkraman, Shukra Artha Nishkraman, Mal Mutra Nishkraman. That Apan Vayu also Udavartan occurs. That is, Apan Vayu should go in the downward direction, but its Udavartan occurs actually. As a result, it comes in the upward direction. And Sa Rugartha Raja Kruchena Udavarta Munchanti means Rugartha means pain and Raja, menstrual blood. So this Anil or Vayu, what it does with pain actually, it takes this Raja or menstrual blood also in the upward direction. Kruchena Udavrata, it takes in the upward direction. And Kruchena means with difficulty and Munchati means excretion. And it then excretes the Raja or menstrual blood with great difficulty actually. So this actually we can correlate that it is that we saw constipation and that link is there. Second is we saw there is hypertonicity of the isthmus and the internal os, right, in primary dysmenorrhea. So if we consider that, then actually the raja, which should actually go in the downward direction, is not able to go. So that actually can be considered as udavarta. Also, there is incoordinate and imbalance in the action of the muscles. So that also can be considered as vayu or apan vayu, which has become udavarta. And when the arthav, such arthav sa vimukte, tad lakshana labhate sukham. When such arthav is released or some arthav is actually excreted, at that time actually, or some menstruation blood actually escapes, at that time the woman will feel immediate relief. So that is that Rajasu Gamnat Urdhva, because Raja moves in the upward direction in this, and therefore it is known as Udavarta Yonivyapad. So in the by combining Vata Yonivyapad and Udavarta Yonivyapad, actually, these two things we can actually combine, and the kalpa or things which are given in this we can definitely use for dysmenorrhea, because these, if we correlate in this way, definitely it is correlated with dysmenorrhea. Also, the second point, that is Madhukush commentary on Madhav Nidan. So, in that it is written that Samantat Vartana Vayu means there is Samantat means all around. Vartan means movement. So, all round movement of Vayu is seen, and in dysmenorrhea actually, pain is not only limited to the pelvis, all round pain is actually there. So, that also we can correlate. Also, this Samantat Vartan can be correlated to the incoordinate action of the muscles actually, and the autonomous upset actually. Also, Vega Udavartan is there because Vega Udavarta Apan Vayu has come in the upward direction, as a result of which the Adho Veg is not happening, but Urdhva Veg will occur. For example, nausea, vomiting, which is actually there, which is actually correlated with the autonomic upset actually. And I said this, incoordinate or irregular contraction, that is correlated with the all-round movement of Vayu. So all in a nutshell, if we say, then Vata Trute Nasti Ruja. So this is the basic thing which we are talking is, without Vat there cannot be pain. Srotas would be Rasa, Rakta and Artavaha. Why Raktavaha? Because some acharyas have mentioned Arta as the Upadhatu of Rakta Dhatu also. And if we see, that is actually correct, because Artav is Agneya also. Also, there is some reference of Chakrapani also, that during the formation, actually, Artav is actually of the Swarup of Rasadhatu. But when the formation gets completed, the Artav becomes the Swarup of Raktadhatu. That is just theory, but we should just know this. Udbhav Sthan is actually Pakvashay, because Apan Vayu, the main stan of Apan Vayu is actually Pakvashay. Rog Marga is Abhyantar, Stana Sanshay, and Vyakti Sthan will be Garbhashay. Just correlating some points of secondary dysmenorrhea really quick is that in Pitta Joni Vyapad, along with pain, we'll have burning sensation, fever, discharge of blue, yellow color would be coming from vagina. So this is acute infective condition. Therefore, it would be secondary dysmenorrhea. Paripluta Yonivyapad will have painful menstruation, tenderness, backache, fever, and also, according to Sushrut, dyspareunia, that is painful coitus. It is also known as Gramya Dharma Ruja Brusham. So this all actually is present in pelvic inflammatory disease, dyspareunia, tenderness, and everything. So like that, we can correlate lots of things. This all would be covered, because PID also we have one full day for PID session in this Adhistri series actually. Univyapad, one full day we are having. So we are mostly focusing on our topic of Kashtartha.